All right. Just so you don't stare at me, there'll be pictures back there. Less stress, right? I better put these on too. So yesterday when I came to set up for my, well, not much there, but there are a few things there for you to read after. I was setting up some things yesterday, pulling out this book, and all of a sudden I realized it was almost exactly a year ago that Dave and Darcy, if you guys remember, they had meals as fundraisers last year, and I was helping Darcy set up and pulling up that book for Darcy. And yesterday I was pulling out the book for my mission trip that I did. It's like, okay, God must have been laughing at me last year. He knew. He had actually spoken to me before I even became friends with Darcy that I would be doing a mission trip. I just didn't know what, when, or where, but that was answered. YWAM, as Randy mentioned, it stands for Youth with a Mission. It's an international Christian volunteer organization, which we've mentioned Dave and Darcy are members of. And for us oldies here, Jordan Dayu has been there, and Saffron as well. They are focused on evangelism, training people to go out, training people when they're out in the mission fields to train their own people and build them up, and also mercy ministries. The reason as I mentioned, YWAMs around the world, the reason I ended up in Perth, Australia is because they have a large focus on medical missions, and that's why I went there. So I did this talk once before, and I've altered it just to more focus on the majority of us here are strong believers. And I'm just trying to focus on the fact that this isn't about what Anne did on a mission trip. This is about what God does and how he helps us through things. So my flight when I left home landed me in Hong Kong with a 9-hour layover. And if my sleep gets mixed up, I go in a state of exhaustion and try not to cry, and I was nervous anyhow, so I was in Hong Kong with a 9-hour layover, sitting there thinking, what am I doing? Like, I was, okay, God, you're calling me, but I'm still kind of nervous going, so I was sitting there, fighting back tears, and texting back and forth. I don't remember if I texted with you or not, Brenda, but I was texting back and forth with Katie McKay and Darcy, and still had a long layover, and all of a sudden people sitting right behind me are talking about scripture passages and their interpretation of it, and you could tell that they were strong believers. So I texted Katie, said, they're talking about the Bible behind me, you should talk to them. So I turned around and I said, can I have prayer? And they prayed with me, and we talked, and they took me to lunch with them, and they stayed with me until it was my flight time, and one of them group were going off on a mission trip themselves. So I'm only going to talk briefly about my time in Australia, as much as it was actually a bigger part of my time spent because we had 3 weeks training in Australia, and I went a week early, which was a God thing too, because I was sick when I arrived. I forgot to mention I was sick when I left home, and the sickness lasted a good 2 weeks of just almost, it was a high, close to being infectious, cold. But it helps to have medical staff on the team. Doctors were great. So when I got to Perth, because I was there a week before my team, I had the dorm room to myself, which was great because I've never shared a room before. And our dorm room was 3 bunk beds. And so I had the room to myself, chose my own bed. Then the team started slowly coming in, and I was praying, and God provided because one of the teammates was a physiotherapist, acupuncturist, so she was treating my colds, which was awesome. Just the fact that I do acupuncture here to get rid of colds, and my roommate was an acupuncturist who was actually quite funny because she was from Hong Kong and said, "Oh, I've never done a long-nosed white person before." So anyhow, she was really nice, she was really sweet, but she had this funny, evil little laugh when she turned the needle. Does this hurt? So, I like laughing at these things. The other thing about the dorm life was the bathrooms were sensor lights, but you had to find the exact spot to stand in this pitch dark bathroom to find that sensor light. So you'd go in the middle of the night and you'd have to literally do this to get the lights to turn on. And these showers were 5-minute timers, and I have very thick hair. So I was always panicky about washing my hair and shaving my legs at the same time because I was always panicked about running out of water. And I heard a story about someone who went in the shower when no one else was around. The lights went out because they were in there too long because they weren't moving enough. So they had a problem in the shower. So my teammates did arrive in my room, and it was a blessing. One thing I didn't write down, which I will add, is the last person arrived a week late. And there was 2 empty beds, and one was above me, and I selfishly thought, don't let her choose my bunk. She chose my bunk. My bed squeaked, her bed squeaked, which ended up being a blessing because one night I tend to talk in my sleep once in a while. She heard me mumbling and constantly moving around, so she started praying for me, and she said instantly I just stopped and fell back to sleep. And so, yes, I'm trying to add things God has done in this talk today. So my teammates, there were 15 members, and out of the 15 members, there were 11 nations, which is really was a blessing to just have this cultural thing that you would normally never have. We had medical doctors, physiotherapists, nurses, pharmacists, and myself, who was a first responder. I went thinking, I'm just not qualified, and there's some things that I don't do that we had to do in the medical labs, but the doctor who was one of our leaders said, I don't know how you picked it up, but you knew what to do. And at my birthday present, I did ask for a stethoscope and a BP cup, which is not part of our first responders protocol, but I've been practicing BP cup on my arm this week. On the base in YWAM in Perth, Australia, Mondays would start with worship for most of the morning, and Fridays the evening would end in worship as well as a sermon. And our classes, they assumed we all did have some form of medical training. So because we were there for 3 weeks, and I found out it used to be 3 days, and they kept us 3 weeks, which is great because it grounded us more. In those 3 weeks, it was jam-packed tight because the people that are doing a discipleship training course, which is 3 months, and then 3 months out in the field, they jam-packed us for 3 weeks. So I found Perth actually quite exhausting because there were over 500 people on a base smaller than the size of CVR, and it was very dry heat, which was exhausting. And the classrooms one or two classrooms had air conditioning. We also, as well as medical classes, and the medical classes were kind of fun because we would have to practice on each other. I have now had a fluoride treatment, as well as because I was sick, everyone wanted to use my ears to examine because I couldn't hear out of one of them. So it was fun, exhausting but fun. But it was also focused on holistic, on how to heal the whole person, spiritually, as well as medically, as well as emotionally, which is what needs to be done. You can't focus on one thing because the other thing could be imbalanced and you're still not a healed spiritual person. One medical class that really stood out to me, I mean there are a lot, but this one just shocked me. And there is a diagram you can come see later. So it was on nutrition or poor nutrition in all these countries. This red dots across the world are where the poverty is, that people are starving across the world. This green strip across the world is where this tree or bush is grown called moringa bush. People in this third world country thought it was just scrub brush. They'd make fences out of it, throw it away, cut it to get rid of it. Someone did research and found this is the most nutritious plant there is. And God spread it right across the world where all the poorest poverty areas are. They dehydrate the leaves and it's used as a powder to supplement. I think the website's on there, and maybe not, but anyhow, it just, there was a lot of things stood out, but that's just, you can see it. Spiritual classes. We had spiritual classes, 5 intensive spiritual classes. It was so much that it was kind of over everyone's head. I do have the memory stick still have to look at. But at the end of this 5 weeks, that spiritual classes had dealt with healing. And the last day, we had healing sessions, and we break down into groups of spiritual and physical healing. And I was in the classroom with another friend who were being prayed over for physical healing. And they covered everything as far as, it ended up my friend that was with me, Connie, was from Hong Kong, and as a child, her parents had taken her to a Buddha temple, I think, I'm not sure, and giving her this little Buddha, I don't know if it's Buddha, but some kind of chain, and she used to talk to it as a kid, and they said, you're going to have to repent that and set it to God. You don't know what's attached to that. Neither of us were healed, but there were some healings done in the class. But while we were in there, my friend Emily and another friend were praying over a woman who was on our team, who was a Christian, but we could all tell she had some spiritual attachments that weren't of God. And they were praying over this woman, Julian, and Julian said it felt like something was literally being ripped out of her. And Emily, who was praying over her, who is a very strong prayer, had never spoken in tongues in her life, started speaking in tongues while praying over Julianne. And you could tell Julianne was a different person after that healing day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my summarizing. Australia itself was a month. I could take up the whole day talking about it, but that's the main important parts. I'll just add some fun things in here before I move on to India, because I think that's why everyone's here. Some bizarre fun facts we learned in medical class. So if you have an earache, they try to focus on how to heal people in countries where they don't have medical resources. If you have an earache, chop onions, put it in a cloth, lie down, put it on your ear and sleep like that, and the fumes somehow relieve the pain. Not that you would want to sleep next to that person. Also garlic fights infection. So Melissa, one of the leaders, was talking about she had to share a bed with Kathy, which I'll talk about, and so you chew on garlic to help your immune system. She said Kathy was so good she never said a word, but I've been chewing on garlic for days, sharing the same bed. Other interesting facts. So most of our team was Asian, which makes sense because we're at that end of the world. So whenever we did go out for a meal, it was always Asian food because they missed their home food. And I guess as Canadians, we don't necessarily have a home food that we miss, which is great. Poutine, yeah, no, I didn't bring that up. So anyone ever here drank bubble tea? Yes. So bubble tea was a must, apparently. Connie, who walked half an hour trying to find a bubble tea store. And I've only had bubble tea once before that I'd left. Actually, it was Darcy who dragged me off of a bubble tea store. But it's like a cold tea drink or a fruit-flavored tea drink. Can have milk in it. And it's tapioca pearls about yay big. You suck through a straw that's huge. I like it, but... So Connie walked like half an hour trying to find this bubble tea store. It was like, I don't know how many times, literally I drank it 2 or 3 times a week, probably in Australia. I didn't mention we had homework. And I texted Darcy, why didn't you tell me we would have homework? Why did we have homework? I had to read a book, do a devotion, and present it to the class on healing of my choice of the Bible. We also had to do medical teachings on one of the clinics we saw in India and send a document to our leader and do a devotion in India as well. And why did we do this? Well, it grounded us and focused us on our Bible because it's easy to get busy even though you're on a Christian base, get busy and lost and not do it. And the other reason is there's a University of the Nations which falls under YWAM, and you can, all these things we did actually give it credits. And you can build up credits towards getting a degree. So the last thing about India, you know how you build up lies and you start believing them in your head? Well, my lie before I went was, I don't want to meet Kathy. Kathy is Darcy's leader. She started the medical division in Perth, Australia. And so in my head it's like, oh, I'm not going to do well, it's going to look bad in Darcy, and so I'm scared to meet Kathy. Kathy and I got along wonderfully. I love Kathy. She told me make sure you come back soon. You'll see a slide of her, a blonde-haired lady sliding down a grass hill on a sheet of cardboard. That's Kathy. No one to be scared of in the least. But there is a sheet here, not to show what Kathy did, it's to show what God can do through us. It just shows us the result that we can't see in our lives. Kathy started the medical division in Perth. She almost chickened out. She came close to getting on the bus halfway to Australia, or to that part of Australia and turning around and going home, but she did listen to God and went. And it shows how many people have been healed, how many babies have been born as a result of her following her ministry. We don't have that in our lives. We can't see that, but don't give up. God knows what we are doing in our lives.
Amen.
So I'll move on to India. Vijayawada, India is where I was. It is southeast. 85% of the population is Hindu, 9% Muslim, and 3.6, I don't know where they get the 0.6, is Christian. Before we went, we had to convert our Australian dollar, which is basically equal to an American dollar. Canadian. We had to convert our Australian dollar to American dollar, and in India we had to convert it to rupee just because the Indian government were going through a thing with counterfeit money, and that's the only way we could do it. So we had calculated they had calculated what we need. Ended up, there was consequences in the large convergence American, which I'll explain in a short while. $1 US is about 62 rupees. So you have this $1,000 rupee bill, which is worth, not $100 rupee bill, which is worth like $1 or something. Yeah, as I mentioned, there were some consequences or fringe benefits we lost. I'll mention it again in a couple minutes. So when we arrived in India, it took at least, I'm not sure, over 16 hours between flights. And then we had a 9-hour bus ride. And even in the night, we arrived in the night, we still had to wear, we were guests at this point. We had to wear baggy t-shirts, and our ankles had to be covered. My jeans stopped here, not good enough. I had to wear jeans that covered my ankles. And I'll explain that in a minute too. 16-hour bus ride now, 16-hour flight, 9-hour bus ride. My bus ride, it will be embedded in my head for life, which is good, right? So we get in the bus. I'd slept most of the flight. Emily, you'll keep hearing. So I'll just mention Emily now. Emily lives in Australia. She was the one that crawled in the bed above me and prayed for me. And I went to this trip, honestly, it was kind of weird, and same with her. Neither of us went expecting to bond or have a friendship. We're doing this because God's calling us to do it, that's all. So Emily lives in Australia. She is American, she's 26. She lives from New Hampshire, 4 hours drive from here. And she'll be home in a couple days, so I will be going to New Hampshire to visit Emily. And we text back and forth every day. So Emily and I got on the bus, sat down, and crashed, and then beside each other and looked at each other and was going, what is the smell? To me, it smelled like cat urine, plus mold. Long story short, we found out later it was human urine, more than likely. That 9-hour bus ride never stopped once. Just reality of it. So we were exhausted, it smelled. And there was a TV screen on this old rickety bus, and suddenly, as soon as the bus started moving, the TV came on, just full pitch screech. And we just looked at each other and I was like, what? And all of a sudden, this is why it stands out. All it was on the screen were 2 hands dancing. It just broke the tension, and we just broke down and started laughing, and it just cut that. Oh my heavens, I'm exhausted, and now we got another hour bus ride. It was what was needed. It did switch to a very old, bad Bollywood movie, but we fell asleep. The other thing about the bus was there were leg rests to put your feet up, which felt great, but because of my spinal pain, I chose to sit, and they reclined almost all the way flat. I chose to stay upright as much as possible with my feet on the rest, but the man in front of me was determined that he was going to recline full position. So he kept whacking my legs with his seats to So finally I had to recline because he had reclined, and if I sat sitting up, his head would have literally been. So I think all these things are funny and just part of the amazing experience. So we arrived in our YWAM base in India around 5 in the morning. We had left around 3 in the morning the day before. I forgot one of my friends actually flew up in the plane too, but so yes, sleep deprived, we arrived and we were told you can get to sleep for so many hours. My room I was assigned to was, again, with Emily and 2 other friends, which they had prayed about, oddly enough, for all the rooms would be roommates, and obviously, God had it dead on whose roommate should be whom. Because I go to the bathroom often because I actually drink a lot, and I need to now, I was polite and opted for the spot next to the bathroom door. So we were sleeping on the floor, and my head was literally 2 feet from the bathroom door on the floor. In this bathroom, they were normal seating toilets, which was wonderful. So they had purchased us mats, and they were new mats, and we thought, okay, good. We had air mats, but we put our air mats on top of sleeping mats in the middle of the night. But after being there about 2 days, Emily's legs started breaking out with these trail spots up and down her legs, and I started getting some, it was bed bugs. So we get rid of the new mats because that's where they were living, and all our air mats were taken to the roof and washed down, and everything, of course, was washed by hand. Our laundry was washed by hand and hung out to dry. But yeah, they still were there somewhere. We kept getting the bites. Just part of the experience. So the next morning after arriving, we were sent off to buy clothing. The scarf is actually supposed to cover your breast because that's a big taboo. I don't understand the ankles, but so we were sent off to, the only way I could refer to it was like a rates, but 5-6 times that size. It's the only way to explain it for us to envision. That was kind of fun because it was the first experience in a rickshaw, which I'll talk about later. Showers, we were told to expect just a pail and water, but God blessed us, because I did try to use a pail and water once, but it was kind of ice cold water. Pouring on one spot at a time doesn't go great. We did have ice cold showers, which Emily would scream at when she stepped in, and I just laughed, and she said that actually helped her. The toilets, we did have flushing toilets, which was an amazing blessing. Because we weren't expecting them. Some of the toilets in the building we lived in were just stand-up toilets, which I did use. So there were flush toilets, but you couldn't flush your toilet paper. Everything had to go in the garbage can because the pipes were extremely small. And a few times I'd forget and flush the toilet paper, and then I'd be standing over the toilet praying about the toilet not plugging. And no sinks in the bathroom, so we'd have hand sanitizer on top of the back of the toilet, so you'd wash your hands. And one day, as I was flushing the toilet, the hand sanitizer fell into the toilet. So I had to fish it out, and then I was do you tell your roommates? Don't you tell your roommates? So I washed it thoroughly. It was almost empty, and then a few days, I didn't say anything. A few days later, James, the only male on our team, which I'll talk about shortly, said, I'm always worried about things falling in the toilet. And I broke down and said, Emily, I dropped the hand sanitizer in the toilet. So anyhow, just these bizarre things that stuck in my mind and are a bizarre blessing to me. The fringe benefits, so we did have toilets, but the fringe benefit was, in the cost exchange, we lost the benefit of having toilet paper supplied. So, we would buy toilet paper, but the problem was there wasn't the corner dépanneur, which is the size of, I don't know, it was the size of, I don't know, one of the bathrooms here. They wouldn't have toilet paper, so we'd have, once a week we'd be going to the Ratte store, and they didn't always have toilet paper because it was in high demand. So we were using anything we could possibly, or borrowing from your friend and giving back. But just these things. Story is, take toilet paper with you. So we were the only white people in this area, but half of us were Asian. So they didn't stand out, and they were quite short. And of the white people, there were only maybe 4 of us that were my height. James must have been 6'3". So we 4 of us really stood out. I was never here, let me take your picture person. Here I go, no. I'm sure my face is all over Facebook in Asia, in India. People would be stopping, shaking your hand. What else? Someone drove by in a motorcycle and actually hit my back, so they want to touch you. James, as I mentioned, James is from Scotland. He's a doctor, and quite tall. And so men show affection to each other, like if Randy, whoever his best friend is, he would show affection to his best friend by actually walking arm in arm in public, which is not a big deal there. But in India, men would be wanting to kiss James's face. And he was very, not on the lips, but he was very compliant. And I have a photo, I don't know if it's on here. Yeah, so that's James, being very kind and compassionate. A few people actually proposed to him, apparently. He is married with 4 children, I believe. I really stood out. And you just had to accept the fact that this is what it is. And one of the first days we were there, we did a city prayer and visit. So we went to different areas to pray over the area. And one of the first places we went to was the bus station, which is oddly enough the 2nd largest bus station in all of Asia. So many people are coming in around Asia that we went there to pray. And on the way there, outside the gates to the bus station, there was a man lying on his stomach, and his arms and legs were all twisted out of shape, and he was begging and obviously could not walk, so someone must carry him there every day and lie him there to beg for money. And there was another lady lying there who, Deborah, who is our leader, loves wound care, and it bothered her what she saw. A lady's swollen leg, it was yellow and oozing and pussy. Just things that it was India. People were always begging. The hardest was, you got used to the begging, except there was one day we went to a normal mall, which just felt really weird, because it felt like being in India, but going to Fairview Mall, because it looked like that. So to me, it just felt really unusual and out of place. That's where it was really hard. The beggars were staying there because the white people outside the rich mall, it was really hard. Even as the rickshaw was driving away, the hands would be in the car. We also went to a bridge to pray over. This bridge, beside it is holy Hindu water. Some princess somewhere down the road had gone there to bathe, so this was now considered holy water. Water was absolutely black, absolutely filthy. There's garbage everywhere in India. But they would go and bathe there as a ritual to worship to their Hindu gods. There'd be guys outside burning incense and praying. They would shave their heads as a sacrifice to whatever Hindu gods. There were more than one, apparently. You'd see kids with shaved heads, that they'd been taken there to offer a sacrifice. And next to this holy water where everyone goes to pray is a bridge where everyone jumps off to commit suicide. And so we went there to pray, and it was, a very powerful place, because, we stood on this bridge and looked down at the people praying for a holy Hindu non-existent god. And then beyond that, you could see the rich people sailing in sailing boats. One thing we found out, we asked the leaders on the base in India how they met, and ended up they were both on different Y1 bases in India, and it was an arranged marriage. And we asked the staff where we were staying, there were 2 girls, one was 18, one was 19, if they would like this, to have an arranged marriage, and she was very happy with the fact that, yes, someday I will have an arranged marriage. It's not forced on them, it's their choice now. It still happens. But she was very pleased that, yes, someday this will happen for me. But with that said, one day when we were there were a large group of kids walking up and down the street with signs protesting against prearranged marriages for girls. Because they don't have a choice, and it's not at an adult age that this happens usually. We did home visits while we were in India. We would go into people's homes. The base there in India where we were staying has a continuing, ongoing, very strong outreach mission. They go to people's homes to visit, be witness to them. They go to schools and help. I forget what they do in the schools. They have leftover food was taken out from homeless people. They have a very strong outreach ministry there. So they knew which homes to go to, and so we'd go into homes and we'd ask them if they had any concerns, and they would tell us, and then we'd pray with them. We did have 2 girls on our team that played music, so we do a bit of singing with them. And God used me to share with 2 women of different medical problems I had to help them be encouraged. So see, I look at my medical problems as an encouragement and ways God can use it. I don't look at my medical problems as a burden. One big job we had was teaching kids, not just kids, teaching people how to wash hands. And someone did ask at our last talk, well, why are you wasting time to do that? Because they're not going to do it. But if you start teaching kids how to wash hands in a controlled illness, it's a vital thing to do. Mm-hmm. So yeah, to get them to wash hands, we had to do a worship team to draw people in, and then we'd be washing each other's hands with a pail and water. And it was the kids that would go first, and the adults were rather hesitant, but after a while adults would start going, and we showed them. And we did go into school one day, and my group was the hand washing group, so we had to sing and do skits on how to wash your hands. These things you swear you never do in your life. Have you ever seen me sing and dance in church, Grandma?
I think we would do that.
So things you never thought you'd do, it's like, okay, I'm here, this is what I gotta do, I'll do it. Like, I don't walk around dressed like this normally. I have to go there, this is what I could do, I'll do it. The other group, I did the hand washing skits, which ended up being really fun, and the other group did nutrition. Some of the clinics that really stood out to me was we had different clinics in different locations. One was in an area that we were told, don't wander away by yourself. People were friendly, but they had known that babies had been kidnapped from this location and taken to other cities and had their limbs removed so that they could be used to beg with. Our clinics were set up that we would have 2 chairs for 2 medical staff, 1 translator had a chair plus the patient, and there was lineups of people, and a couple of clinics didn't have any doors. We were sitting out in the open, and as soon as the patient got up, like 100 people, it was like hot potato. One patient get up and 100 people were fighting for this chair, even though there was supposed to be they went through triage, and then, following the order of things didn't really work. So that was one area that stood out. We also prayed over each person after. Even if they aren't Christian, even if they're a strong Buddha or Hindu, they would be more than willing for you to pray with them. We made sure they knew that we were praying in the name of Jesus Christ, that that's why we were there, that we were Jesus Christ believers and He had called us there. And we had Bibles to give away. We did have some healings and complete salvations too. We had dental clinics, pharmacy clinics. We had the physiotherapists who were great because they were able to help deal with some patients. A lot of the problems were back issues, men and women. The men, physical labor, and women, they don't think they're doing physical labor at home, but they don't have tools like we do at home to deal with things. The two other clinics that stood out, they're both titles of open slum areas. I just explained one. That was hard. The other clinic, what I call the dirty slum clinic. So basically you walk to the most poverty area that I'd seen. I don't know if you've seen it. Really run down apartment looking buildings. And it was just swarming with flies because of the smell and the the lack of any form of sanitation. I was on pharmacy that day, so literally just threw a tarp on top of a dirt pile, which was in the medium of the two roads, and that was a pharmacy clinic. And the chairs, we all sat in those little plastic chairs. We just sit in the chairs in the middle of the roads. One man was trying to walk to the clinic. I forget what the name is, the men that wear, to me, I'll just say diapers. He had soiled his diapers, but it had been there for days by the looks. He had a stick as a cane, and he could not lift his leg. He would actually have to lift his leg by pulling on his leg with his hand for every step he took. People would have bandages on that had been placed there by somebody in a medical field, but you knew that they'd been there for weeks on end and had not been removed. Kids' clothes, you saw kids in the photos, I believe, with just tops and no pants. That was in that area. But everyone's friendly, everyone's happy to have us help. Yeah, those were the clinics that really stood out. We did have a nice clinic where it was a classroom with 4 walls and a fan and a marble floor, but needless to say, they didn't stand out as much, other than, yes, we had a nice atmosphere and things were controlled, but yeah. So healings through clinics. One was a person, and I know there were more, but the ones that I could think of is someone had a head trauma for over 5 years and had visual problems, and they had complete healing. Someone had complete healing of knee pain, back pain, long-term migraines. Some people would come just because they needed attention, and you couldn't just brush them aside and say, this is a medical clinic. You would ask them to pray with them, and if there was a spare team member not doing anything, we'd set the person aside and they would just pretend to do a massage just to give them some form of attention and pray for them. Some things we weren't able to help was one woman had extremely high blood pressure, like in the danger level, and we just had to say, we can't help you, you've got to go to hospital, but she had no funds. So heart-wrenching things like that. Someone needed glasses. This clinic didn't have glasses. This YWAM does at times have glasses, which is great, because people can't afford them either. And another odd case was worms. The first patient just had worms. And as I mentioned one Sunday, we were all told when we got home, you all should just play it safe and de-worms. We do it to our dogs, why not ourselves? Okay, I'm drawing to a close, but this one really stood out. I guess I'll just cut stuff out. So this one stood out, and there was a man when we were out on a prayer walk one day. I call him man of death. One of the dentist was from India, so she translated. He came along and said, I need to talk to you. She translated. He was Hindu. I forget what he had. He died in a rickshaw on the way to the hospital one day. And for some reason before he died, he said to his aunt, and he was an adult at this point, he said, if I die, just don't bury me for 3 days. So he was taken to the graveyard, wrapped in the linen, left in the corner of the graveyard, and on the 3rd day, someone came to him. He couldn't see the face, long hair, dressed in white, washed him, and opened his mouth and administered communion to him. And he raised from the dead, and now God said, I have chosen you, you are mine, you are to witness to everyone about me. One day I did ask, what's your wages here? And we'd go to the corner day dinner and buy, I forget what it is, chocolate ice cream bar with thick chocolate on the outside. It was not quite $1 American. And so the person I asked points at someone digging dirt, and she said, oh, he gets 62 rupees a day, which is less than the ice cream bar. So needless to say, I stopped buying the ice cream bars. So yeah, daily travel was by rickshaw. Basically, it was like a 4-wheeler with a cab over it, and we would 2 seats in the back and 1 up the front with the driver. We would wedge 8 of us in the back. Carmen, who was a doctor, who was 26 but looked like she was 10, and small, she would always be so happy. She'd just kindly sit on someone's lap like a little child. It was fun. They were always swerving around the cows because the cows were walking, and I think I only saw 1 or 2 stop lights or anything like that. it was nerve-wracking if you saw what they were doing when they're driving, but after a while you just gave up, and they weren't going fast enough that anything serious would have happened to us. But at first I kept looking for my seatbelts, like, no, there's no seatbelts. Memorable night to me was someone in the room across the hall had seen a rat in her suitcase, and it had disappeared, and no one had seen it again. And then one night, in the middle of the night, I woke up and two of my roommates are awake, and I said, what's going on? One's still asleep, and apparently Carmen had heard scratching marks, or scratching noises, and pulled out her torch, British word for flashlight, and saw a rat nose sticking out from my luggage. So we woke up the other roommate, who literally jumped off the floor when I said the rat's behind your head. And because I was the farmer, I'm the one who, we worked together and we trapped the rats, and we were laughing very loud and woke up some of the other people, but they didn't want to know about the rats, and they pretty sure that was what it was, so they tried to go back to sleep. Long story short, we threw the rat over the gate with the pail, and someone said, well, someone's going to steal the pail. So then I had to hop over the fence, get the pail, hop over this security gate that took me 2 seconds to get back in. That was my memorable bedtime. I am almost done. I'm not overtime. There we go. So I can add one more thing I think I left out. Church. I left out church. I went to one church service. They went to another one, which was a different story, but this one I went to was all in Indian. It was a Christian church. Any building you went into, you would remove your shoes. So it was a very long church service. Oh, I forgot to mention that every time you pray, you also cover your head, which I think was in some of the photos. So the service, we sat with our heads covered. And one way they control their hair frizz, which did definitely work, was coconut oil. So I was hosing my hair down with coconut oil. But apparently they use it for communion anointing too, because it was a transparent podium, and this little boy went walking up front. I said, oh, that's nice. They let him walk up front like we do. And he grabbed this coconut oil up on this high platform. Everyone's seeing he's about to pour the coconut oil on his head. So someone grabbed it from him, and a few minutes later, a little guy was back up in the platform, and there was a drop-off where the men sit upstairs in chairs and the women sit downstairs on the floor. Well, he's upstairs about to drop this plant on someone's head below him. So that was my church. Oh, the other thing about church is because, yes, we removed our shoes. It was, I don't know how long the church service was, and I'm sitting there thinking, let's go to the bathroom. I have to go to the bathroom. One of my friends beside me said, okay, I've got to go to the bathroom. So we got escorted down to the bathroom. And our shoes are just in a mount, and the bathroom's the other end of the building, so we don't even think about shoes, but it was one of those stand-up toilets, and we're in bare feet. So then we started choosing some stranger shoes that would fit us to walk into this very dark, dingy, dirty bathroom. So that was my church experience. Well, and the cough syrup. The communion juice, we think they use purple cough syrup. And we're glad we went to the bathroom at that point, because they were serving communion bread and they would rip it off with their own hands, which they don't wash. So we're glad we missed the communion bread. So I'm down to my goodbyes. At this point, they give you insert because I left a week early, but that was God too, because anyhow. So goodbyes, they all say encouraging words before they go off to the clinic, before I head to the airport, and everyone's encouraging you and saying positive things about you, and I'm sitting there trying not to cry, and almost got through it until I hear Emily burst out crying. It's like, okay. So I started crying, and she said, oh, I didn't realize how much I was going to miss you, but now I'm going to see you in a couple weeks. So that was really nice, and they did present me with a beautiful scarf, the YWAM team in India. I left a week early and prayed about it, and I had gone with the intention of staying for 3 weeks, which you could leave anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks. It's set up that way. And long story short, I left a week early due to exhaustion, and I got confirmation on, yes, this is right. And when the confirmation was true, he said, if you stay too long, you're never going to want to go back. So you're going to go home so exhausted, you're going to have problems in your flight, so you never do it again. So outside our dorm room, there's a school, and to learn English, they recite words out loud So as we're walking past the school to get in the rickshaw to go to the airport, the words the kids are screaming out loud, Canada, Canada, Canada. The airport, I had to do 2 flights in India. The second flight, I had to gather all my luggage because it wouldn't be transferred because they're switching airlines. My suitcase never came. I'm standing there praying. Everyone else is gone except myself and one guy. I look at the guy and shrug, and then he ends up speaking English. He was on my flight from the first airport, and he's on the way to Boston, but a different flight. But he's Indian. Our suitcases come at the same time. We actually had to leave the airport in India to get back into the airport, which I would not have been able to figure out. And he'd done it before and spoke Indian, so he guided me through it, and I still had like a 5-hour layover in the middle of the night. So it's not a place you necessarily want to sleep. So he stayed with me, and we slept on top of our luggage, and so God got me through that too. So that is my experience in India. If anyone has questions, ask me after. My next trip, I definitely feel that I will be doing one, or more than one. God gave me the first responders' abilities to use here. Definitely this is my mission field, and God made that clear. But for some reason, whatever reason it is, I will be doing more. I already know I have 2 opportunities, and I'm praying about them, and I don't know yet. But as I said, my mission field is Chateauguay Valley, Quebec, and we have leaders that need support and praying for, like Brenda Randy and Katie McKay, who is actually considered a missionary under her terms. I did have a dream about the Valley of Dry Bones when I was away. Very vivid dream, and I woke up and it was so strong that I remembered that Jordan Daou had one, almost the same dream 15 years ago, 20 years ago, that we need to stir up these dry bones in our valley and put flesh on them and put God's Spirit in them. My next mission trip, I'll call it a mission trip, is Katie's doing that run and I'm doing the same run, a 5-kilometer walk, but it's to raise funds for her mission. And so, and also we need to keep faithfully praying for the Daous and also David and Darcy, who are called to YWAM. And they really need prayers and encouragement at this point. And so I just want to thank all of you for your prayer and your support through all this.